Today we will do the Balance Council tier list for the August Balance Council. As always, guys, we have the top tier, which are the best changes in my opinion. Good changes are just good for the game. Neutral changes I either don't really care about, as the card won't make a difference, or I'm not sure about. Questionable changes are ones I'm not too sure about, but I suspect will be bad. Bad changes are bad. Seagull tier is what we're changing the I hate it tier to because of Seagull Council. And basically the idea here is if the Balance Council is on the terrible level of the Seagull buff to 2 power, it's going here. And then we have Constant, which are just cards that get moved back and forth. I'll try to mention my opinion on them this time. So first of all, Rage of the Sea to increase provisions. So we'll start with increased provisions. I don't like this. Rage of the Sea is pretty much only used for rend-free beasts. Actual Rain is kind of unviable. And that deck hasn't really gotten any nerfs, although we'll get to one later, but I don't really think it needs a provision because it's already pretty good. Then we have King Trum. I think this one's justified. King Trum is insane. If he gets carryover, basically if you don't remove him or remove the resilience, it's 36 or so points. So he's insane. I can see this. 15 makes sense to me. Ogres is really popular last season as well, specifically the mana version. Tainted Ale, this is going constant, yeah. This thing keeps getting nerfed for the Tainted Ale combo with the Protectors. To be honest, I played 200 something games last season. I think around 200 games, and didn't see it once. So I might be it's a lower ladder thing, but sure. Morwood's probably a good change. He plays for a whole bunch of points in a bunch of different decks, and he's just kind of unconditional, like 17, 18 points. It's just at the end of the game. Even when you're forced to play him early, he's still pretty big most of the time. I think actually, I like this up here. King Trum's an insane card. Cleaver, this is just a bad change. I don't think this is good. Cleaver, basically taking a hit for Cleaver's muscle getting overbuffed last season. Cleaver's fine before that. Just he took an extra nerf here for pretty much no reason. Blue Dream, getting nerfed to 11 provisions. I don't really like this. I like Blue Dream. It's a cool card, but it's getting nerfed, I imagine, so you can run Vernon Roche. So the Vernon Roche combo is getting... I'm pretty sure when I took these pictures. I took the pictures yesterday and make the tier list today. So if I recall correctly, it's just getting really late, so I didn't finish making the video. But I think this is for Vernon Roche going back to 9 to balance the total provisions back out, but this just doesn't do anything because you're not going to play Blue Dream on Vernon Roche when Vernon Roche is now in Golden Echo range. So that's just overall buff the Roche, and this card just comes worse. Something like that. Secret Service. Is this in constant? I don't think I'll put it there quite yet. But Secret Service, just quite good. It's an incredible card. Secret Service is insane. So yeah, it thins, comes out with tempo to purify, so you basically don't lose your engine turn. The lock doesn't do anything. Your opponent plays a bad turn, and then you get to thin your deck as well. Has some proactive combos, really strong uses. Definitely should be 7. I think what's going to happen here is you just run 1 Secret Service instead of 2. Also in a 7, Whisperer, probably a good change. This card's incredible. You get so many points in comboing with this. Sometimes Whisperer doesn't really feel like it's that good. Like if your opponent has a bunch of removal, they just kill the Whisperer each time. But you can play it so many times with Necromancies, you can high roll it off of Bountiful Harvest, which is really annoying when that happens. So this just makes it a little more expensive to put in your deck. I think this is good. I'm kind of between good and neutral in it. It probably is good overall. We did see quite a bit of that deck last season, and it seemed quite good. Then we have Open Sesame, that's going down here. It's just going back to 5 next patch. I mean, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, this is just going back to 5 next. This just means you can't make it off of Shady Vendor, although I've seen a lot of decks playing 1 Shady Vendor or no Shady Vendors anyway, just to play this, and you make it off of, you try and make it off of, what's the other thing called? Count Reuben's Treasure instead. But this just means you can't make it off a vendor, and it's more expensive. Really could get device decks as well. I'm imagining this is mostly, again in line with the Cleaver and Cleaver's muscle nerfs. That deck's going to get destroyed. Seagull, not going in Seagull tier. We're just putting it down here for now. Seagull going to 6 is just a precursor to it going to 2 power. For some reason, the obsession with making this 2 power is going to happen, I guess, but at least it's not 2 power for 5. Even at 6, it's playing for 8 carryover, which is better than most gold cards. So, whatever. When it gets buffed to 2 power, it's going in here. Temple is a constant one. This is bad, though. Temple's probably the best card in the game. I think Temple's probably the best card in the game. So, It should be the most expensive. Erland. Now we are in the provision decreases here. Oh, so is Temple. Temple's a provision decrease as well. Erland here. Oh, I took a bad image here. I snipped this one badly. We got a big space next to it. Hopefully it doesn't bother anyone. I'm sure it will. But this losing a provision I think is good. The Erland decks have been nerfed a lot. Temple coming back as well makes them a little better. Erland is a pretty interesting card. We'll go with good on him. I'm neutral about the Solwa Totem buff to 9 versions. I am a huge fan of Golden Necker Self Wound, Golden Necker Warriors. I play that deck a ton. But this just seems like it might just give the deck too many points and too much synergy activation. It really incentivizes you to run the Queen's Guards, though. So we'll be trying this out for sure, because we already love that deck. But this might be too much, which is why I'm putting it in neutral. At this point, so many things are in Golden Echo range for Warrior / Self Wound. You can just kind of do all kinds of different stuff, and all the stuff that got buffed into his range might just be too many points. Like, it just might be too good, but we'll see. At the end of the day, it's a Golden Necker deck, which means it has some weaknesses. Avalok. I'm putting this at top tier. I love this change. Waiting for Avalok to change forever. Such an interesting card in the synergies it activates. It activates special synergies. It also puts a body on the board. It has weather synergies, and I love my weather decks. So this is just a really good change. It can also have some synergies with Scoia'tael with the Whisperer, because now you can play this into triggering a special for this. It has a lot of uses. It's more interesting than you think it is. Has some damage synergies. Very cool. Hemdall. Kind of what I was saying about Totem. All this stuff's going to Golden Necker range for Warriors and Self Wound. But I think Hemdall deserves it. He doesn't get played. The 1 damage pings are not very valuable. Well, the only time they're valuable is against Tatterwing, before they drop the Lara on you. But other than that, they're not really useful. They never like stack up and kill 1 unit. They're just like a value thing, and they really want Alula for double value. Maybe we'll see some play with Hemdall now. Kind of hope so. All right, Free Company putting good. No one plays Free Company. No bonded decks play Free Company. Pretty much only bonded decks. The only thing the bonded decks do is just spam stuff. Either Illusionist or whatever else you want to do. Or they just like use it to thin with Highwaymen, so you get your run free combos. But overall, probably good change. This card probably still won't see too much play, but we might try it out. Burning Roche going to 9 is bad. Burning Roche going to 9 just enables Golden Necker, Northern Realms just to throw this thing out and just double engine on you or double whatever on you. And it's cheaper. It buffs the Temple Priestess deck. Not Temple Priestess, just the Priestess deck with Muta Generator. It just buffs that deck. The deck was already the best Northern Realms deck last season, or one of the 2 best decks, I should say. So it's just getting buffed, which is bad. We don't want to buff the best decks. But yeah, okay, sure. Sheldon Skaggs, this is a good one. Sheldon and hand buff in general don't do that much, and Sheldon is one of the worst payoff cards. Because what happens when you buff Sheldon to a gigantic amount, so you got 20-point Sheldon, you're not doubling the value like you're an Iglace, because your opponent's not going to have a 20-point unit. So it's not as good as a payoff. So making it cheaper is a little bit better. Now you're more incentivized just to play this guy. Maybe you play him when he's like at 10, do like that 4 damage or something. Makes him a little bit better. Don't feel as bad doing that early. It's not as valuable as the other finishers, like I said. So I like this one. Brand to 5. Really like this one as well. We played a lot of Brand last season. I tried fitting her in a couple different decks. I tried fitting her like called Harmony decks mainly. Also played her in a couple of other ones, but she just didn't feel. You just felt. Why would I play her at 6 provisions? Like I would even play like Ida over here, swapped her out for Ida. But at 5, there's not really much argument. She can probably be a decent option there. So I do like this. I want to put her in top tier just because I like her. She's cool. And I think one of the main points of Balance Council is to make cards that haven't been playable to balance out the game. So for that reason, she's going way up here. It's kind of the same thing with this. Making underutilized cards into viable cards is one of the best things about Balance Council. All right, now we get into the provision. Oh, 1 more provision decrease still. 1 more. And this one, going down here. Yeah. 4 provisions for Sly Seductress plus all the decks that run the Madam. You can now spam this thing out, which is obnoxious. And putting it at 4, the reason that this is in Seagull and not like questionable or bad is now you can make it off of the Create card, because it's a 4-provision card with a fee. So you can just spam this thing out like crazy. Yeah, this is just it's just gonna go back next season. It's kind of pointless. If you love Seductress spam decks, just play her this season, I guess. Next, we have Eltibald. I love this change as well. Eltibald gains a power. We are now in the gain power section. And at 7, he's much harder to remove, which is fair, because Eltibald's ability takes a long time to get going. And really, you either need some synergies, like multiple cats or something, or you just need him to be out for a while, and this will help him be out for a while. So, very cool. I do like this one quite a bit. Detlef. Detlef gains a power. This kind of goes in conjunction with later on we'll see Ruin loses a power, but this is just bad because now you're going to go back to the no Ruin versions, the old Death Wish decks, the no unit Death Wish decks. They just have an extra 3 power, and they're just going to not play Ruin and just be better than before. So I don't like this specifically because Detlef's like the best card in the deck. You're just buffing the best card in the deck to make the deck viable. It's not really, we've seen that before. This doesn't really balance the game, just makes certain things overpowered and everything plays them. So I don't like this. You consume Detlef 3 times. He's worth 21 points for 10. That's kind of crazy. Reynard Odo, I quite like this change as well. He gained a power. And now Reynard's more... He was going to stick before, but his ability wasn't that valuable. Now he comes down. Sure, you can keep him as before, but if you play him range with his formation, he comes down at 9. He's actually got some decent point potential to him because what you're going to do with him is play a few units. And before, at 8, he's just 1 less power, right? But he plays for more tempo. Now, he's more like a tempo card that also boosts your future cards. But his engine's not as dangerous as some of the other dangerous engines. Like, it doesn't do damage to the opponent. You're not like 2 a turn off of Knights. Or Knight Errant, I should say. It's not as scary as the other ones. Or like the ones that have Warfare. Or, not Warfare. Resupply that cool down. So it's not as strong as the other engines, but it comes with more points. So I think that's fair. Vivienne, I'll put in questionable. I already saw Vivienne and Renfrey decks. You could hit Triss with her, you can hit Renfrey with her. I already saw her in a few of those. Now she'll be in more. If you'll be funny, you can always hit opponents' tokens because they're 0 and kill them. Maybe you play like, what's it called? What's the box thing? Mysterious Puzzle Box. And your opponent plays a big token guy, you kill it, or they are just like happen to be Patricital Fury. A lot of leaders do make tokens. Not a lot, but some of them do. You kill it. Big 4-version engine gets boosted up, reset it. Should probably be more played now. Swears, I don't think this makes much difference. Swears' main problem is that all the things he'd like to seize at 3 power range have been buffed to 4 power, making him lose targets, and it's not... You have to like damage setup for Swears most of the time now. He's not as good. So I'm not... Yeah, he's buffed. Yeah, he's interesting. But I think the fact that most of his targets are out of his seize range now, that he needs synergies with like already set up damage, which is kind of not the hardest thing to do, but a lot of Nilfgaard damage is random or like the last unit the opponent played or something. So it can be kind of hard to trigger. So I don't think it makes too much difference. But we'll see. Nausicaa Sergeant will obviously just get changed again. But for the record, I think 4 power Nausicaa Sergeant's fine. I saw 1 Nausicaa Sergeant played last season, and I think it was off of a Imperial Diplomacy. So obviously this card's not getting played much. Maybe it is at lower levels or something. I don't get it. Self-Eater going to 6 power. You're now in power increases, like I said with Nausicaa. This is a terrible change. Anyone who remembers when the relics came out remembers Self-Eater at 6. But basically, now what happens is you split Self-Eater. And instead of before, if it was at 5 power, you split the Self-Eater. It didn't matter if you played another card first or after you split it, because they both go to 3 anyway. Now you play Self-Eater. You split it to 3 and you get 8. So it's just twice as fast scaling. Not twice as fast, but it's just much better. Like, you're getting 2 more points right away, and every subsequent one gives you 2 more points. It multiplies extremely fast. So I can see why the Seagull people want to buff this as well as Seagull, because that's the same thing, just breaks the game if you can't remove it. And a 6 power, so you can only really remove this with gold removal, or I guess Mastercrafted Spear, but that costs more. Yeah, the only positive about this is that when you carapace it, now it's in Geralt range. Other than that, like, this is just a stupid buff that will get reverted immediately. Fallen or Cursed Knight we'll put in questionable. This is just a better card. Like Fallen Knight was already played in several decks. At 7, it's just now why wouldn't you play it? Like it's gonna be in your deck because it has so many. Just like aha, I got you. Mostly for stuff like Falsiri, Joachim, stuff that have Disloyal. You just transform. It can transform something that's got poisoned. It has a lot of uses. It was pretty good before. Now it's just one more power. It's just why wouldn't you play it's imagine if like Squirrel with like 6 power. Why wouldn't you play it? Right? It's kind of that kind of feeling I'm getting here. So I think this is probably going to be bad, but we'll see. It's probably not going to be oppressive or anything, but we'll find out. King Cobra going to 3 power. I love this. Mainly for the monsters poison, which is a complete meme deck, but maybe it'll be less memey now. Just whenever you look at making a deck with poisons and you want to put more poisons in, you never put in King Cobra. A 2 power unit is going to put out a poison. People hardly play, well, not hardly, some people do, but not many people play the Nilfgaard one that's 4 for 4 with poison. Like, people don't even run that in, like, poison decks. So this is really just for if you really want to overload on poisons or if you want to go like monsters poison. So really glad this thing got a buff. 2 powers, way too low. Next up we have Renfrey. Y'all know where this is going. No, I'm just kidding. It's going down here. 1 power for Renfrey. We finally got there. Let's contemplate for a minute here. Renfrey came out 7 power. 13 provisions, no doomed, and some of her abilities were better. We're down to 1 power, guys. Is it because I hate Renfrey? No, it's because she's really good. Like Renfrey Blazing Glory Warriors is one of the most popular Skellige decks last season. It's really strong. You still see Renfrey decks with Nilfgaard quite a bit. Really strong. She's mostly played for carryover, and this kind of cements that. You can't play her. It's harder to play her for carryover now, which is when she's really abusive, you just drop her, and then you carry over your new leader ability, and the opponents have to deal with it. Now with the 1 power, she doesn't come with as much tempo again, so it's less likely you can just abuse that carryover. When they actually have to play Renfrey in the round, they want to use her ability. Like say they draw Renfrey round 3, they play her and have to use her ability. It feels a lot more fair. What it doesn't feel fair is when they just drop Renfrey round 2, and you still have to play another card because you know they're going to pass but keep their ability anyway. This helps address that. Reardane, probably good. Trap Elves, really common. Very strong. He's a double tutor that is replayable with Heist. Very good. A little less tempo on him, makes sense. He's coming with 2 cards anyway, so. Ivar, how do you say it? I'm not a fan of this. I just don't really see the point. I guess it makes him better at swapping power, but worse at doing his non-adrenaline damage, which I guess, sure, fair, but the enemy knight decks that boost the opponents already didn't care that he was 4 power most of the time because you're going to swap something that's like 30. So it doesn't matter. This only affects the decks that are just going to run him like mill decks sometimes run this guy, just because sometimes you can hit a big unit and get more points there. So this makes him more good in those decks, but worse as like a last say draw when you're stuck playing him at the end. I'm not a big fan of this. We'll see if it makes a difference. It might not, but I just see this being more of a buff to Mill that just throws him in there. Because by the end of a round, which you know Mill's going to play all their cards, when you're like down to 2 or 3 cards and you have to play him before his Adrenaline, I guess that's what, 4 cards? You might, at the point, he's probably something big you can hit. Olaf back to 10 is good. The buff to 11 was clearly overzealous. Already went to 9 provisions, just make him 11 power. The 11 power thing was a big deal with Newt the Callus because you would just do 6 damage instead of 5, which is a big threshold. Plus, then you click his ability and the doubling gets an extra point because you took 1 more damage. So this is probably, I like this better. Then we have Alzur. I don't like this one either. So I want to say this, Alzur losing a power. Clearly, in my opinion, the problem with Alzur Golden Necker was Whisperer, not Alzur. This just makes all the other Alzur decks worse. I don't like it. Ruin. This is, to be honest, I think I saw like 1 Death Wish deck, but Ruin Death Wish is pretty strong. This just means he's dead again, though. Like, no one's going to play Ruin at 4. put this in here. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I didn't see any Ruin decks, but maybe it was just the MMR we played at. Maybe it's common somewhere else. But he is very strong at 5. And he kind of just abuses the Seductress if you can do it. Not Seductress, Succubus. Just kind of abuses her if you can get that set up. Very obnoxious. Like 10 points a turn if you just have those 2 out. And you can keep consuming the Ruin, which will then consume the Succubus. So, yeah, I'll probably put this in neutral. It is really good. It's kind of sad he dies again, though. I'm not unsure about him, so we'll stick him in here. Riptide obviously goes down here. Personally, I don't have an opinion, Lord Riptide. It's incredibly strong. It comes down with tempo. The fact that it plays for so much tempo when you do use it as removal is probably the issue here, in my opinion. So lowering its power makes sense. Then you have all the people who say it should be 10 power because might, Ogroids, synergy. That doesn't make any sense. Like, that makes no sense to me. Not every Ogroid's a 10 power card. It's kind of silly. Spellweaver Revert is top tier. So is Cleaver's Muscle. These 2 decks were the most common decks of the season. They were 2 of the best decks of the season solely because the Seagull people decided to buff these to break the game and make the meta as different as possible, making 2 new decks broken. So we're fixing that. Is good. It was just dumb. Then we have... Oh, I don't like this one. Dire Bear going to 7. I don't like this. Sure, it means your Berserk ability is already online, but decks that play Dire Bear don't boost their own row, and you can play around your row knowing where you're going to put your own Dire Bear, so it just kind of makes it worse. Like, I just see this as a nerf to the card. Sure, its Berserk's always online, but not like Udalrik, which is kind of useful. This one always being online doesn't really matter because it still blocks the opponent's boost. It just doesn't block your own, but you know you have a Dire Bear. You're not going to put your stuff on the row across where your opponent's boosting things. Sometimes this will come up, I'm sure, but overall just makes the card 1 less point. Makes it worse to like create off a compass. I just don't like this one. I would have rather seen like 8 provisions. And then obviously Roach getting its back to 4, which is bad in my opinion. He comes with so much tempo. He really enables the round 1 abuse stacks that people don't like. And that's not very healthy, but whatever. So that is the Balance Council tier list. Ignore Erlin floating all the way over here. Clipped him wrong. That's funny. But anyway, are we happy with this? I think we're happy with this. Overall, we have a lot of bad stuff this council, which is quite unfortunate, but it is what it is. Yeah. Anyway, guys, that was the Balance Council. Hope you enjoyed. If you want to stick around to see our season summary and see why I have the opinions I do about these cards and what we faced, as well as some random interesting tidbits, stick around to the next part. So, as far as our season summary, let's begin here with the faction distribution. The most common factions we saw, I guess I'll throw out the disclaimer here. This is what I saw on the ladder. It may not be representative of the ladder. The ladder is gigantic. We only played a couple hundred games. It's not a great sample size, blah, 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 all that stuff. Anyway, all that's out of the way. This is for fun. So Northern Realms, the most common deck we saw. This almost never happens. I can't remember the last time Northern Realms was the most popular faction. And it's solely because of Sintron Spellweaver getting overbuffed. It is what it is. Next most common one would be Scoia'tael. So a lot of Golden Neckers decks there, some variety. Then we have monsters, a lot of King Trum, a lot of Ogroids. Nilfgaard we saw a good amount as well, mainly Renfree stuff. Renfree, Shoop, and Assimilate. Actually, I think there's more Shoop than Renfree. Then obviously we got Skellige and last Syndicate. Syndicate's always last, but it's much more common than usual. The one thing doesn't show here is that Syndicate is not that much more common than usual, I guess. But it was really polarized into exactly one deck, which we'll get to. So checking out the decks we played against this season, this is the most popular decks by season. We got the number of times we saw the deck over here. I included everything we saw 2 or more times. And then on the top here, we've got the these little numbers are the difference in MMR from the average MMR of a game I played. So if the average MMR of a game I played this season was, say, 2550, well, it's not. 20. Let's go with like 2450, something more reasonable. Something like that. You would see this would be like a 2452. This would be like a 2445. You get it. So the higher the number on this is, the better performing the deck was, in my experience. Like a higher MMR in the ladder, I found it. So for monsters, we can see the most common deck I saw was Fruits and Ogroids, which was with Manor. Both of these we saw like 6 times. They're both quite good. Then we saw some Tatterwings, some Manor Kashes, some Frost, a couple Witch's Sabbath nonsenses. I kind of lump these all into one category at this point because they're all basically the same. They abuse Witch's Sabbath to do something else. Whatever the abused card is doesn't really make a difference to the deck. For Nilfgaard, we've got a tie between Enslave, Assimilate, and Shoop Soldiers. Shoop Soldiers, by the way, highly performing, really high level deck. Like we saw this really high on the ladder, and it is a good deck. It's very strong. Shoop Soldiers has been a really good deck for a long time. Just the amount of resilience you can do with it protects you so much going round 2 to 3. You can just like throw everything in round 2 and you have like 30 points of resilience carrying over. Really strong. And then after that, everything we saw twice. So these are the two most common Nilfgaard decks. Then we got some Henry Assimilate, some Statuses, some Clogs, which didn't perform very well as you'd expect. A couple Sandor Constructs, some Renfree Hyper Thins with Rients, a couple Mills. Get the idea here. For Northern Realms, look at that. Are we surprised? No, we're not. The most popular decks of the season were by 14 times Spellweaver Spam Mages, because Spellweaver is completely broken at 5 because you can make so many copies of it. It's really hard to remove. It plays for more points. It's more than 1 point a turn on a damage engine, depending on which cards you play. Really obnoxious deck. Honestly, I just don't like. It was a terrible deck to play against. You just couldn't play any of your own engine decks unless you just were playing. Yeah, you just couldn't play any other engine decks against it because they killed yours. You just had to be playing like hyper efficient removal decks. It's really annoying. Then we have Mutagener Traveling Priestess, because as I've said before, when you nerf in quotes the Traveling Priestess from 4 to 5, it goes into Mutagenerator range. You just play Mutagenerator instead of the other stuff. That's what happened. Really good. And this deck just got better because they just buffed Vernon Roche. This deck got a buff. It'll probably be the best deck for Northern Realms next season because this one got nerfed by having its broken card unbuffed. For the rest, we've got a couple of engines. This is the one with Meave that we tried out. It was a fun deck. I really liked that one, actually. Then we got some alumni without Spellweavers, which just seemed like a mistake. Then we have the most popular Skellige decks. Looking at here, Pirates, which is a little bit of a surprise to me, but then we have Renfree Warriors, Blaze of Glory, Skellige Witchers, and then a couple of Raid Warriors. Pretty decent balance here. But yeah, again, Renfree Warriors is one of the best ones. Pirates, I didn't realize we saw this much. I wonder, maybe we're just used to playing Pirates, I don't really register it. Yeah, we played a bunch of Pirates. I didn't realize that. And we had some Witchers and Raid Warriors. Scoia'tael was popular deck was Goldnecker Alzur. There was some Devotion mid-range Shirus, which performed pretty highly. We saw this high on the ladder because Shiro is such a blowout card. You can do tons of stuff with it. And you can do a lot of planning and forethought with Shiro, matchup knowledge. It can be kind of hard to use, but when it's used against you, it's really annoying. Some Dwarves. This is just because Dwarves have 18 provisions on their Dwarven Forge leader ability now, so they just shove everything in there. Then we've got Heist Waylays, Trap Elves, Devotion Symbiosis, Precision Strike Dwarves. Like I said, Dwarves playing their own Mahakam Forge here just because they get so many provisions at this point. 18 is a completely crazy number of provisions. Anyone remember who's been playing Gwent for a long time, by the way? Those of you who've been around for a long time, at least after Homecoming. Remember when, was it Morin Voorhees used to buff 2 cards? Or he had 4 chargers to buff a unit by 2. He used to buff Unicorn so you could play your Chiron action from your hand before they got changed. And then they nerfed him from 18 to 17 because 18 provisions was crazy on a leader. I'm getting that kind of situation going on here. And for Syndicate, oh, look at this. We've got 13 crime decks because Cleaver's Muscle was broken at 7. Wow, I'm surprised. And then we had a couple of Forgotten Treasure scenarios, a couple of Collusion Gangs, but just all polarized into exactly crimes. No deck diversity here. This is the only decks we saw. So overall for this season, the most popular decks, we've got Spellweaver Spam Mages because they broke Cintron Spellweaver, just made it overpowered. Crimes because they broke, Cleaver's Muscle, made it overpowered, making these most common decks. People want to win. So the higher MMR you get, the more common you'll see these things that just abuse the broken stuff. Then we have Mutagener Traveling Priestess because it got buffed, more or less when Priestess went to 5. You got Ogroids, Fruits, Slave Assimilate, Soup Soldiers, all the other stuff we got here. Yeah, this is a pretty accurate feeling of how I felt last season. It's not super fun. On to the leaders. As far as the decks weren't super diverse, maybe some of the leaders will be. Let's take a look. So monsters here, most common leader, we have Roots of Yizkas. We saw all of them used at least twice. This is an excellent balance spread. You don't see this commonly, but looks like the leaders overall seem pretty balanced here, which is nice. Nothing was super uncommon, nothing super common. These are the Ogroids, obviously for Carapace. These are the Tatterwings and a couple of regular Rakkus Swarms. And then we got the fruits. Oh, look at this. I see no problems here. Guys, you see any problems? This looks normal. 22 shield wall for Northern Realms. Half the leaders didn't get used a single time. Didn't see in a single Inspired Zeal deck. And then the rest was just Pincer Maneuver for the Priestess one and Mobilization to spawn Reavers. Yeah, I see nothing wrong here. Definitely nothing happened with Shield Wall or a certain card in that deck that when shielded becomes obnoxious to remove and does a bunch of damage and makes other engine decks irrelevant. Yeah, nothing happened here. Obviously something's wrong, guys. Like, obviously a Shield Wall will go down now that we have removed the broken Sintra Spellweaver, but we'll see. We'll see. Guerrilla Tactics, the most popular one for Scoia'tael, just because it's so flexible. This is not a case like this, like there's something broken going on here. This is just because Guerrilla Tactics is super flexible and you can play a lot of decks. Golden Necker plays it to protect their stuff. The mid-range Devotion decks would play it to buff Shiru. And then the Milva Bomb decks play it to move stuff around and do damage and set things up with like Brayhen. And the Movement Golden Necker decks play as well for the movement. So this is really flexible. A lot of decks use this. And then we've got the other ones pretty commonly down here. Just no Invigorates. Hand buff did get a buff with Sheldon. Maybe we'll try it out. Just Invigorate is kind of a weird one to use. Either you're going all in on it with hand buff, or you're just buffing a bunch of engines and then going with an all-in engine deck, which I have not tried in years, which we might. So we'll see about that. On to Skellige. Had to make a quick change there to fix one of these columns because I entered something incorrectly on the game's inputs, but we're set now. It's all been corrected. And we've got a lot of something and no Rage of the Sea, no Battle Trance. So yeah, Druids got nerfed so much no one plays them. Rage of the Sea is only for Renfree with Beast at this point, and I didn't see anyone playing that this season. Although I still think it's a good deck. But yeah, overall we've got a lot of focus on damage. You kind of can't play these point slammy decks when everything requires damage. Like you have to remove the really dangerous engines from the popular decks this season, right? You can't be playing point slam decks. I think this is more of a meta thing that this deck didn't get played than that it's actually bad. The main abuse here being like Spellweaver and then like Whisper. Like those kind of cards use half the kill, and this deck can't really kill them effectively when they bring them back so many times. So I think that's why it didn't show up. I still think it's good though. We've got the Onslaught, it's the most common one. The rest pretty similar. For Nilfgaard, most common one's Imperial Formation from the Shoop Soldiers. Everything else kind of got played some. Different decks use them. Enslaved, obviously with Enslaved. Tactical Decisions with Renfree. Maybe a couple Clogs in there too, I don't remember. Or a couple Mills, I mean, not Clogs. But overall, this is what we saw for Nilfgaard. Makes a bit of sense. Again, I see nothing wrong here. 14 line pocket crime decks, all playing the buff Cleaver's Muscle. Couple gangs. Couple, what was this? Scenarios, double scenarios, and literally nothing else got played. Didn't see a single other Syndicate deck other than line pockets crimes, gangs, and hitting cash for this 2 scenarios. This deck got buffed though. The scenario deck got buffed with the Structurous buff, so we'll probably see more of it next season. Overall, most popular leaders, we got Shield Wall, Guerrilla Tactics, Line Pockets, then everything else kind of calms down a bit. This is very representative of what I crawled last season. And then least popular, these are all the ones that got 0 use. And shock to no one, they are the ones in the factions where one deck got overbuffed and became completely dominant, right? These 3 are Northern Realms. If you wanted to lie Northern Realms, you played Shield Wall or Priestess. These are not those leaders. These ones are all Syndicate. If you want to play Syndicate last season, you just played Cleaver Crimes. Everything else was way, way worse than Cleaver Crimes last season. So, I mean, you just didn't play them. And a couple in the middle. Neutral packages. Not much to say about here. Not much of any of these. Right, not much of any of these, to be honest, overall. Usually, you see a problem when one of these cards is strong because, say, like, Renfree is really strong. Renfree goes in a bunch of different factions decks, and then her use rate on this shoots way up. She's here because of Blaze of Glory Warriors, which is not that common, and some Northern or Nilfgaard stuff. But since she's only in those, you don't see her like way high up in this chart, which is why I like this one. It kind of shows if one neutral card gets too strong, because it goes in a bunch of different decks, then this shows it pretty high. Right now it seems fine. The Death of Devotion continues. We're at less than a quarter devotion decks now. Not surprising. This is basically what I think. When I see a game on the ladder, I just know it's probably non-devotion. Disconnectors, we had a big surge in this season. Our disconnectors were the Run-Free Hand Buff player, one of the Golden Necker Elzurs, Spellweaver Spam. As I always like to point out, it's pretty common to see the most popular decks on this, because it's fairly likely one of the people playing those popular decks, one of them will disconnect, because there's a lot of them playing it, you're likely to see one of them disconnect, if there's an even prevalence of disconnectors across the different decks. Stuff like this, though, Run-Free Hand Buff, one of the mill players, one of the construct mill players, one of the clog players, one of the shoe soldiers, should probably fix that. Again, this is a popular one. Like these three, I have a kind of a preconceived notion of the Nilfgaard special where you disconnect all the time when your strategy doesn't work. You guys aren't helping me with my perspective there. And then a Fruit player and Devotion Vampire. I felt... Oh, we had one emote spammer this season. A Fruit player emote spammed on us. What was this? Yeah, this was deserved, though. I will accept this emote spam. Because what happened is we played this Fruit guy. We played Battle Stations. We were trying out Nausicaa Brigade. We Battle Stationed with 8 cards in our deck and drew 2 Nausicaa Brigades and lost because we had to play them out of hand. So yeah. That emote spam, completely viable, or completely valid. I was laughing too. Anyway, guys, that is the season summary. Hopefully next season we get some improvement, and I don't think we will. I think we'll have a different variance on this deck faction. But we'll see. Hope you guys had fun listening, and we'll see you next time.